Welcome to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, the show that helps you sort through all of the trends, new and old, of the fitness world. We'll talk about yoga, running, Zumba, weightlifting, and everything in between. Whether you've got your fitness routine down to a science or you're just starting out and looking for direction, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into the GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Christian Maris, and we're here to talk about some fitness again. And this episode in particular is going to be a continuation, basically, of what we've been talking about before and in the past episodes. If you don't know, we were just going over stuff like what you should be doing in weeks 1 through 3 of your, you starting your journey, and, especially if you're new to this and stuff like that. So, last week we were talking about weeks 7 to 10, stuff like that, and before that was on week 6 to, my fault, what was it? Weeks 4 to 6, and then, of course, in the beginning, weeks 1 to 3, and then this week, today, we're going to be going over, weeks 11 to 20, and basically stuff like that, and, what to do, stuff like that, it's basically similar to, previous episodes, but, different topics altogether and stuff like that, so, be ready for that. Also, after we talk about that first and foremost, I'm going to be going over, why you shouldn't be getting comfortable and stuff like that. So, stay tuned for that. That's a whole thing on its own, to be honest. And then after that, I'm going to go over cardio, because I don't think I went over cardio too much. So, I'm going to be talking about that, and, we'll see how that goes and things like that. So, be ready for that as well. And then later on, lastly, I'm going to go over just, pretty much fitness advertisers and, their validity and stuff like that. And as well as, just how to look your best, being this far into your journey and stuff like that. So, be tuned for that, because that's going to be real interesting. That'll be real fun to talk about. And, without further ado, I think I've talked enough. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm pretty excited for this part, because again, this is weeks 11 to 20. So this is pretty far into your journey. Like, I would say, like, again, this is like 10 weeks. So I'm pretty much expanding it, and after this episode, I'm going to do weeks 21 to 24, and that's going to be the finale. So again, this is like a pretty large section, especially considering, my previous episodes. It's pretty sizable. It's pretty much everything I've talked, like, pretty much in 3 episodes, I've gone over weeks 1 to 10. These are weeks 11 to 20, so this is, like, literally the same, like 3 episodes into 1, but when you make it to this stretch, a lot of things are repetitive and stuff like that, so I think it's fair to expand it, to this length, so, for sure. And we're going to, like I said before, let's go ahead and do this. First things first, I say this pretty much every single time, but you need to be consistent, because consistency is key. Consistency is easily one of the most important things that you can do to, not only see results, but, actually have a successful journey, I guess you could say, So make sure you're staying consistent on whatever you're doing in your diet and your workouts. I say this absolutely every single time. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but for sure, you need to be consistent. And as long as you can, remember that and everything, you should be fine. So yes, whatever you're doing, whether it's a new workout or a new diet or something like that that you're trying out, just be consistent with it for however amount of time until you switch up, or, like, move the weight up, or maybe want to try a new diet. Yeah, just make sure that you stay consistent in whatever you're doing. And with that said, another thing is to stay hydrated. This is another thing I say all the time. And you need to be hydrated. Again, I went to play basketball this morning, And one thing I always do is I always bring a water bottle with me because I'm the kind of person that tires out really easily. Like even talking, like sometimes I'll tire out easily, and that comes from me just recovering from COVID. That's more like a recent thing, I would say, for me personally, but for sure, like always have some water by you. I have some water right here. I know you can hear it right now. Like I always carry some water with me, and you need to just stay hydrated, especially when you're working out, for sure. Like stay hydrated, because that's easily one of the most important things you can do as well. Water break. I'm telling you, man, stay hydrated. That's all you need. Next up, I would say to because if you remember, I was telling you to have a log, and keep that around, and to consistently fill out your log with, daily reminders, things, progress, most prominently. So specifically, right now, I'm telling you to, well, especially at this point in your journey, especially if you're listening to these episodes, correlating to how you're working out, like say you listen to my first episode in weeks 1 to 3, listen to my second one in weeks 4 to 6, stuff like that. If you're listening to these episodes within the time that they're meant to be listened to, for sure, at this point, yes, open up your log, look through it, and just look through your progress, and see where you're at, see how the distance is and stuff like that. Just look through that log, and I think because for one, I was talking about last time, it definitely offers up a lot of motivation. And when you look at it, it's definitely a good way to gauge where you're going, and just how much more there is, stuff like that. So even if it is discouraging, like you look at it and you're like, man, I haven't even really improved all that much, it still gives you an idea of that. So I mean, otherwise you wouldn't even really know, because sometimes a lot of people don't even realize that they're having some kind of progress, or maybe no progress at all, if they don't have some kind of log to look at. Because it's like that for some people. And if it is like that for you, that, just remember, that's always an option. So yeah, for sure, make sure you look at your log, because that's pretty much the point that I told you to even make it in the first place, so that you can look at these things and see where you're at, because that's really important, and I do value that personally. Because I can honestly say that that's something that I haven't been doing. I personally haven't been having a log, and that's mostly because I've been more busy recently, with different things in my life. So I personally haven't had the time, or really, I'd say more so for me, the dedication to have a log and stuff like that. But this is more so for when I was at my peak, or when I was really heavy into my diet and workout plans and stuff like that. That's definitely something that I did. And I can tell you right now, it definitely helps, especially if you're gym or at home, you have a scale or something like that. Say if we're talking about working out, if you have a scale or something, you can weigh yourself, and then, you can go ahead and write down your progress or whatever. So, yeah, keep that in mind, and know that your log is very important, and it's not there for waste. It's there for you to look into. It's literally there for you to look at. I wouldn't be out here looking at it every single week. Me personally, I would personally, like, I would fill out the log, but I would like really go to the beginning and look at the log page by page. I'd say something like every, I don't know, I'd say maybe, I don't know, that's kind of hard, because I'd say every, once every 3 weeks. I think I may or may not have said that before, but I'd say every 3 weeks is fine. I mean, once a week is cool, but it all depends on how often you work out. It all just depends, because depending on how often you do that will dictate, the best times to, look through your journal and stuff like that. So, yeah, be mindful of that, because that's also really, really, really important. Next up, I want to say that, the heck? I want to say that when you, I don't know what that was. Siri be talking crazy for no reason. I don't know why that happens from time to time, but it is what it is. I need to upgrade my phone. But again, next up, I want to say, make sure that when you are looking through your log, that you measure the distance, between where you're at and like the distance to your goal. So, say my goal is to lose 50 pounds or something like that. Say the point I'm at, say I already lost, say, I don't know, 15 pounds. You got 35 pounds left. And if you're logging it, you can pretty much every single time you look in it, you can just log out or just do the math in your head, say, hey, I have this much more to go and stuff like that. So make sure you do that because logging yourself, it's a big benefit. Because I'm the kind of person that's really big on morality. It's really good for your morale. So especially if if you don't believe that whatever you're doing is working. So I mean, hey, that's what I would do. And that's another thing as well. I just want to go and touch on that real quick. The log is really good because it helps you figure out what's working and what's not working. I don't know if I said that or not, but it does that as well because say you want to start a new workout plan, or I mean not a workout plan. Say you wanted to start a new diet plan, and you got all these different foods that you want to eat, and say you're trying it out for however long. Say maybe let me give you something substantial. I say 3 to 5 weeks you've been trying this new diet plan out, and you really want to see if it's really been working or not. Now you can go into your log and see how it's been working, especially if you've actually been documenting yourself. So it helps in that regard as well. So you can be creative with it. That log can help you out in many, many ways. So it's very versatile. So look into that. Next up, I would say to that at this point in your career, I guess I could say, at this point in your career on your journey, I personally feel like you should be familiar with your routine, familiar with the progress, or just familiar with how your body works to some extent. Personally, to some extent, you should know how your body works, what foods, really help you, what foods make you feel better after a workout, stuff like that. Or what foods help actually help you reach your goal better, stuff like that. This is the stage where you should I feel like you should finally know, because this is a pretty big range, again, 11 to 20 weeks. So whether if you don't got it in the 11th week, that's okay, but by the 20th week you should definitely know what's going on. Like, you should definitely know what's going on with your body by like the 20th week or something, and especially if you've been doing all these things consistently. So by that 20th week, you should be familiar with your process, definitely familiar with the routine or whatever your routine is. You should definitely be familiar by then. I have no doubt about that. But more specifically, I think this pertains more so to like the dieting side of things. I think you should be really familiar with that process and everything. So yeah, when you do make it to this point, I think you should, if you're not familiar, I think you should definitely heavily look into what you're doing. Or if not that, then just pay attention, in that case, be more vigilant to what you're eating and specifically how it affects you. Although I think that's something that you should already be paying attention to anyway. So if you're not, go ahead and do that, because that's really important. And finally, I want to say, or more so, I want to ask, are you satisfied with your current progress? Because, at this point, you may or may not have reached your goal, or you may be close, who knows? But, based on what you have already, are you satisfied? How are you feeling with this? Again, is this successful? Has what you've been doing been working? Is there something else you need to try? Or maybe did you find out something new about your body or whatever? So I want to know, are you, or I don't think I want to know, but I feel like you should be asking yourself these questions. Are you satisfied? Has this been working? Do you see something else maybe working? Or maybe is there something else you should be doing? Is there something else something else you should be incorporating, maybe into a workout or something like that? Just things like that, because you need to ask yourself these questions as well, especially at this stage as well, because if what you're doing just isn't working, then what's the point of you doing these things at all? There's been times where I've been doing workouts and stuff like that, because I've switched from many workouts. I've had many different kinds that I've made up, hung on my wall, stuff like that. I've done so many different kinds of workouts in different kinds of places. So I understand what people mean when they ask themselves these questions, like if they're satisfied or if what they're doing is working. So I definitely think you should ask yourself that, because I remember that recently, like a year or two ago, where there was a time I was working out and I realized that, and I was doing a lot of bench pressing, and I realized that that's not something that I really want to do for what I was trying to do, because I was trying to lose a little weight that I had in my lower stomach. I'm over here benching and doing all these presses and leg squats and presses and abdominal workouts, and sometimes there's other things you need. And I was very limited on dieting, which was probably the main factor. But I was doing all these things and not focusing on the things that were actually going to get me to where I needed to be. So if you're doing it, if you're in like a similar situation, then yeah, I highly suggest that you evaluate what you're doing and reconsider, whether it's your diet, I don't know, or maybe even the workout. Because I personally always say that if you're trying to lose weight, the diet is easily much more important than the workout, personally. Because you can lose weight just by dieting alone. I mean, hey, you can lose weight by working out too. But I mean, I'm just saying, if you want more effective results, obviously I would do both. But yeah, for sure. Make sure you look at those things and keep those objectives in mind. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this off here. Appreciate you guys listening to this first segment. And again, next up, I'm going to be going over, why you shouldn't be comfortable and stuff like that, move-ups, things like that, things of that nature. Later on, I'm going to go over cardio and just the basis of it and things that you should be thinking about if you're going to incorporate cardio into your workout and stuff like that. And then finally, I'm going to go over pretty much fitness advertisers and the dangers of that sometimes, or if they may be true. And also how to look your best and things like that. That's going to be pretty exciting, and I'm not going to give too many hints on that. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end this off here, and I'll be right back, but right after these messages.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we are again into our second segment. I appreciate you guys staying here and listening to what I have to say. But without further ado, if you weren't here, if you didn't hear my first segment, I was just talking about some objectives and things that you should keep in mind from weeks, pretty big range actually, pretty much from weeks 11 to 20. Just some objectives, some hotline things that would likely cross your mind that you should just keep in mind at this point. And again, for my next episode is going to be the finale. This right here is kind of just kind of like the semifinals, I guess you could say. These are the semifinals to the finale that will be next episode or next week, whenever you listen to it. But without further ado, again, after this segment, I'm gonna go over cardio and the things that correlate with that, and how you should incorporate that into your workout if you are gonna do cardio, or just the things that cardio does, and the benefits, non-benefits, things like that. So hopefully stick around for that as well. And finally, at the end, I'm gonna go over fitness advertisers and how they can be, I don't know, they can be kind of weird sometimes. That's all I'm saying. They can be kind of weird. And also, how to look your best, and pretty much at this stage, because at this stage you should be seeing some kind of results. So just how to look your best, to touch things up on on the beauty side of things. You know what I mean? But like I said I wasn't gonna give no hints, but I already did. So I'm not gonna talk about that too much more. But yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this. Here we are. Appreciate you guys listening, and here we go. So first things first, I want to say that you shouldn't be getting comfortable. I don't want you to get comfortable at this stage. Or I guess more specifically, you shouldn't be getting too comfortable, because frankly, there's still some more work to do. Because at this point, whatever your goal may be, if it's any mid or long term goal, I really don't think that you probably reached your goal as of yet. So there's no time to rest. You may be close, but no, there's definitely not no time to rest just yet. So first things first, business as usual. Continue to lift the weight, up the weights and stuff like that. Continue to raise it. If you've been lifting, I don't know, if you've been curling 30s, steadily lift up. It should be 35s now. I'm not saying it should be 35s from week 11 to 20, but you should be steadily raising. Maybe from weeks 11 to 14, or maybe even just like weeks 11 to 13 or something like that. You can have you could be curling 35s, and then maybe steadily raise them by 5 each time. And this, of course, this is if you're going to the gym, or if you have your own weight set, then that's good as well. I mean, this pretty much just pertains to just any place that you can get your hands on, all these kinds of equipment. So remember that it doesn't matter if it's an at-home gym or not. That really matters not to me. But continue to raise the weights, up it, all that extra stuff, because that's really important. And at the end of the day, and you got to improve at some point. You don't want, the last thing you want to do is plateau. So continue to do that. Next, I want to say to push yourself, because this kind of goes hand in hand with raising the weights, because the only way that you're going to effectively improve is if you push yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be out here doing regular schmegular workouts that aren't really a challenge for you, because after a while, if way back in week 1 you were way back in week 1 you were curling 25s. If you're still curling 25s in week 11, what are you doing? You're probably not even improving. You're probably improving to a certain point, but then there comes a certain point where your body becomes adapted to that, and either you're improving extremely slowly or just not at all. So, make sure you do that, because you need to push yourself. Pushing yourself is, it's the essence of getting better. It's the essence of improvement. So, you need to push yourself. If you're in pain, that's good. Not all the time. It could be a cramp. You could be steadily breaking an arm. I don't know. But, you can be the judge of that. I'm sure at the end of the day. Don't put yourself through too much pain. And, again, don't strain yourself. I talked about that earlier as well. You definitely don't want to strain yourself, because that's something that happens. I know I strained myself, because that's something that happened to me recently. Because, when was that? That might have been, I might have talked about this before, too. I don't know. And it was definitely sometime last year. I think, wait a minute. Yes. It was in October. It was in October of last year, 2020. And man, I remember I went to the gym, and I was, it was pretty much a multitude of things that caused it, but it was mostly me curling and me, lifting, like when you put your knee on the bench and your hand on the bench at the same time, and you hang like the left or right side of your body off the bench, and then you lift the weight up and down, up and down. I wish I could kind of show you, but that's the essence of what you're doing. And from doing all the curls and that, oh man, like I strained my arm, and I couldn't stretch my arm all the way out. My arm was consistently like at an obtuse angle. It was absolutely terrible, and I couldn't straighten my arm out for nothing. There was a point where my arm was stuck at like a 90-degree angle. It was so bad. I had to go to the doctor, get it re-straightened and stuff like that. But yeah, you don't want to strain yourself, because I pretty much just had like a serious strain. And, because I went to sleep that night, because when you go to sleep, your body's healing, repairing, getting back into whatever form it may want to get in. So when I slept, I'm pretty sure I slept with my arms, not straight. So my arm kind of like froze in that place from being strained so much and being repaired in that place. And it was just bad. So, you definitely don't want to strain yourself. So, avoid that, take it easy take it easy, but push yourself. Kind of an oxymoron, but hey, again, I'm sure you know what you're doing. I'm sure you know if you're about to pop a blood vessel. So, look into that, and be very careful so you don't, seriously hurt yourself, because that's the last thing that we want. And, next up, I want to say that you should also continue, and by the way, this is going to be the last of my continuations, but continue to, mix up your diet as well, because that's something that I talked about a lot as well. say you are eating a salad every day, and say it has whatever foods in it. I don't know what floats your boat. I don't know if you could be a carrot, spinach, and olive person. I don't know what it might be, but whatever it is, just make sure to continue to mix it up, and continue to have variety in whatever it is, basically. Oh yeah, and also to pretty much put that into perspective, because I'm trying to look at it from a few different perspectives, because I know before I was talking about, like, the last thing you want is, I guess not malnutrition, but basically the opposite of that. Having, I don't know the formal name of it, but having too much of one thing can also be bad as well. Especially if kind of like what I just said with olives, those are high in sodium, so you could definitely have too many of those or something like that. So I would highly suggest that you eat whatever you're eating in moderation. And switching up the diet isn't bad either. Like, I know personally I like to have egg in my salad, especially if I'm eating a salad in the morning. I love to put like boiled egg in it. Like, I'll boil the egg and then chop it up or something like that, and and then go ahead and throw it in. That's definitely how I like to enjoy my salad sometimes. I also like spinach, different things like that. I'm definitely not a ranch guy. Easily French or Italian. I don't do what's it called? Ranch. Nah, none of that. We don't have none of that over here. I mean, hey, if you're a ranch person, I'm cool with that. But hey, I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. But yeah, for sure. However you want to mix it up is up to you. At the end of the day, I'm not really stuck on that too much. There's a lot of people who just keep it the same. That's cool as well, but for one, you'll probably get tired of it, and two, you can't be eating too much of one thing, especially if that one thing isn't necessarily like really healthy. Again, like something that may be high in sodium, where it is healthy, too much of it can be bad. So you should keep that in mind and know what you're eating, and know if those things can be eaten over a long period of time, because they, like I just said, something can be healthy but not necessarily long-term healthy. So I would be very careful looking at that, because that can mess you up as well. That can definitely be something that messes up you on your diet plan and stuff like that. Next up, I'm going to say that at this point, your body should be fully, I think personally it should be fully adjusted to whatever plan you're on at this point, because I mean, frankly, it's 11 to 20 weeks in, so whatever plan you're on, you should be fully adjusted to it and whatever. And I mean this specifically on the diet end of things, so you should definitely be used to, especially like if you were like previously before this, if you were the kind of person who wasn't used to eating healthy and stuff like this, I would assume that at this point you are pretty much used to it, especially if you're following everything down to a T. You should definitely be used to it at this point. There shouldn't be no more groaning while eating a spinach leaf or something. I don't know, or some red onions. I don't know, whatever you put in there. And besides, I would imagine that whatever you put in your salad are things that you like. Like I said, every now and then you could throw some meat in that salad. I don't care about that. Or you could have nuts in your salad. I know some people do that as well. That's the whole thing with variety. But for sure, you should definitely be used to it at this point. You should be used to eating a certain way at this point. And if you're not, chances are you've either had too many cheat days or you just haven't been following it or something. Something's off if you're not used to it at this point. So I would think that you're doing something. So for sure, if you're not used to it, look at yourself in the mirror and get better at it. Eat whatever, because like I just said, something is wrong. You must not have been eating right that entire time or something, because this is 11 weeks in, man. 15 weeks in, 20 weeks in. Come on now. Yeah. Frankly, you got to get it together. That's what it boils down to. And that's really the only times I'm gonna say that you really just got to get it together. Like, come on now. Like, this is what it is. But next up, and this is kind of this has nothing to do with diet or anything like that, but I would say that you should buy clothes and, whatever sneakers that you feel comfortable in. So I think this is especially a time where, because, especially considering that you should be pretty much used to your routine or whatever and things like that. I definitely think that now is the time where you can, you see advertisements for like, buy these shorts. These shorts give you better range of motion or something like that. Buy these spandex. Buy this stretchy shirt. I forgot what they call them. I think they call them spandex shirts. I don't know. But whatever you want, go to Dick's, go on a spree or whatever you may want. I feel like now is the time you buy like your serious gear or whatever. Just because you're fully into your routine, I think at this point everyone should know what they're doing. So I don't think it's bad to go ahead and get whatever you need in that regard. Especially sneakers as well, because people kind of disregard how important sneakers are too. Because because you need a pair of sneakers or something to walk around in the gym with, especially if you're going on treadmills or something like that, or if you're just the kind of person because like when you're squatting and stuff like that, you bend down and like you're creasing them and stuff like that. So I wouldn't suggest you go there in like in the space gyms or nothing like that. I'm just saying, so get something that you can that you're not afraid to move around or crease or something like that. So I would for sure, especially if you got the money, go ahead and go on that trip to the mall, the Dick's or whatever sportswear store you have around or whatever. So go ahead and do that, and that's perfectly fine. So with that said, hopefully you take that in and internalize that. Next up, I think that the controls look for ways to challenge, and by that I mean that how could I put it? Like when you're moving up within like the like when you're improving, like moving up the weight, changing the diet, stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is make sure that you're challenging yourself. You know what I mean? And that kind of goes to push yourself, but it doesn't necessarily mean challenge yourself. Like, and this, I guess you could say this is mostly geared towards working out, but don't be afraid for those challenges. You know what I mean? So if you've been afraid to move up to this weight because you don't feel like you're ready yet, I mean, that's fine, but at a certain point, it will eventually be time to move up to that point. But if you're at the point where because there's going to be a point where you can do it, but you just don't feel like it. And if you're at that point, just go ahead and move up and challenge yourself. Because, at the end of the day, you're there to push yourself every single day. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this off right here. I appreciate you guys for listening. Later on in my next segment, we're going to go over cardio and the things that you should keep in mind for that, especially if you're going to add it into your workout and stuff like that. And then after that, we're going to go over the fitness advertising people, and pretty much how they move and stuff like that, and also how to look your best as well. So that'll be pretty fun. And if you weren't listening to me before this, I was going over weeks 11 to 20 and the objectives that you should keep in mind during that time period, or this time period, more like it. But without further ado, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys stick around for our next segment on cardio. And with that, I'll be right back, but right after these messages.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we are for our very next segment of the GSMC Fitness Podcast. Here we go. And in this segment, we're going to be going over cardio and things that you should be doing in that, especially if it's something that you want to add to your workout regimen and stuff like that. So, that's going to be really good for today. And next up, in our final part, I'm going to go over pretty much fitness advertisers, dangers of that, and what and whatnot. And as well as just how to look your best, especially this far into your journey. So stick around for that. That'll be really fun. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just dropped my phone. And before this, I was going over how not to get comfortable, why you shouldn't be comfortable at this point, and just some details there. And then in my first part, I was going over weeks 11 to 20, objectives, stuff like that. So if you haven't heard those things, go back and listen to that, because that's equally as important as what I'm about to go over right now. So, first things first, I just want just a few things I want to say about cardio in general. Cardio is typically one of the things that I don't talk about a lot of times, just because, I was a track runner, cross country, stuff like that. So, I think I am well versed in the ways of cardio. But I do want to say that when it comes to cardio, it is something that I haven't done as much as far as like working out, because typically when I go to the gym to work out, my thing was cardio wasn't really my forte. Like, I wouldn't go to the gym and do whatever workouts or whatever, eat whatever foods and then do cardio. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't my thing. I typically left cardio out of the picture. I did do it sometimes. I did it sometimes. Typically on a treadmill, if wherever I was at living, or whatever gym had a treadmill. So yeah. Those were most of the times that I did that, but it's typically something I don't do very often. So yeah, and it's definitely gonna be something that I start doing in the future for sure. Especially, once we get out of this whole pandemic and everything, cardio is coming right back into the picture, because I can't stand doing this anymore. I need my cardio again. I have absolutely zero endurance compared to myself in high school. I would dust myself right now, like it's absolutely insane. So, but yeah, I absolutely for sure want to go ahead and talk about cardio, because I think it's very important, and I think it holds a high regard, especially to me specifically as well. Although I don't put as much importance on it from time to time, but here we are to do it right now, because it's something I need too. I'm not gonna lie to you. But first things first. Again, at this point, I think that adding cardio into your workout will be very good. That's just me, but I say you should personally add cardio into your workout. Especially if it wasn't in there before. I think now is a really good time, because again, you're really familiar with your workouts and stuff like that, and you know what you're doing. And again, you got the routine down, so it's pretty nice to mix things up, as well as it kind of ties into pushing yourself, adding new things, challenges, especially if you're not a runner, so yeah, I would personally add it in, especially if it's something that I didn't already have in, because again, like, I pretty much leave you guys to make up whatever workout you want to do. I kind of just give you suggestions and guidelines, to stick by and stuff like that. So based on whatever workout you already have, you can add cardio in there if you want to. So but I personally think it will be really good for anyone's workout plan, really, as long as you have, like, say, I don't know, as long as you have an apartment complex, a neighborhood, I don't know, a few blocks, I don't know, or wherever you live, as long as you have a good area where you can run, I personally think that you should be fine. Especially with the technology we have nowadays, we have apps that can pretty much just map out however long you want to run, and it can give you pretty much, like, it will show you like a route, wherever you live, and say, oh, okay, this right here is a mile, so you take this route and run like this, that'll be a mile. So technology really does come in clutch nowadays. And if that's not your thing, if you don't want to go outside and run, which I would suggest, then you can also, go on a treadmill as well. But I'll get into those two things a little bit later. But yeah, keep that in mind. Those I definitely suggest that you add take running and add it into your workout. Next up, I would say that when you do this, when you do add running into your workout plan, or if this is something that you decide to do, I personally suggest that you add it in like very small segments. And especially again, if you're not the kind of person that's already been used to running, I would personally suggest that you add it in very small segments. And then as time moves on, whether you do it now or maybe even the previous segment, not previous segment, in the previous set of weeks, that being weeks 7 to 10, or in the weeks that would be weeks 21 to about 24. I don't know, it may be 25, who knows. But whenever you want to do that, make sure you just implement it very small, very small segments. And by that, I'll give you an example. Say, let's see, I don't know, it's kind of difficult sometimes. But let's see if say I want to start running and I want to add it into my workout. Say at the end, kind of like a cool off thing from all the workout that I did during my hour and a half workout or whatever. Say I have a treadmill, and say that I want to, let's say I run, I don't know, 800 meters at first. That's 800 meters, if you don't know, is basically like 2 times around a Olympic track. So say you want to run 800 meters or maybe even 400 meters if you want to start off really small. I did say starting small segments. So just add in small segments, and then over time, say maybe in maybe 5 to 7 weeks or something like that. Now I'm running like a mile to like a mile and a half, and a mile on I guess by Olympic track standards would be 4 laps, or a mile and a half would be 6 laps. So, like 4, now I'm doing 4 to 6 laps. So, again, keep that in mind as well. So, because small increments, they do meter out better, especially if you're doing it starting out small and then you slowly get bigger, because not only are you pushing yourself, you're also challenging yourself, and not only are you challenging yourself, you're upping your endurance as well. So that's really good. So definitely keep that in mind, because that's always an option, and it's easily one of the top things I would suggest, adding that cardio. So keep that in the back of your mind, especially if it's something that you've been thinking about for a while, but maybe you just didn't have the motivation or really the reasons to just go ahead and start that. So that's definitely what I would suggest. Next up, and I kind of mentioned this already, but I'm like, treadmills are good, but I do personally prefer that you run outside. And I'm just gonna let that sit, because me personally, like I just said, I prefer running outside, for reasons that I'll get into, but treadmills are cool as well. And I'll go over treadmills first, but I like running on treadmills. I've done that plenty of times, and it's pretty much just as beneficial as running outside. But when you run on a treadmill, not only do you not really get that kind of like just that running on a terrain experience, but I personally feel like I can't really think when I run on a treadmill, just because I'm in a building, I might be surrounded by other people, something like that, even if I do have music in my ears or something like that. So I personally do not prefer running on a treadmill. It's cool, especially if it's my only option, I'll definitely do it, but it definitely wouldn't be my first option. Like if you're on vacation somewhere, and you go to if the hotel has a gym or something like that, and they got a treadmill, that's the time that I would use a treadmill, because if I'm on a vacation, I likely don't know the area, so I'm not going to go running in an area I don't know. So, of course, I would use a treadmill then. But, those are the times that I feel like treadmills are definitely necessary. Or if you have a treadmill at home or something like that. So, but I personally do prefer running outside because, for one, you're out in the open, fresh air. You can breathe way better. I'm telling you right now, you can breathe way better when you are running outside. And because think about it right now, I'm inside right now. And as I talk, I breathe in and out, essentially pretty fast. And, I typically have to take a lot of breaks in between when I talk because, again, I still am technically recovering from COVID. So, and it does have lasting effects. So, I typically have to take breaks in between breathing like this. So, compared to like if I was recording this outside, me breathing in air, the air is much cleaner, stuff like that. Right now it's pretty hot inside, right now where I am, it's pretty hot. So, it's a little stuffy and harder to breathe as well. So, outside is definitely just a better breathing experience. So, that's definitely why I would prefer running outside. And I typically think better, I'm able to think about a lot of things. And, it's easier to let my mind run wild that way. I'm still being aware of what's around you, but, you're able to think a lot clearer, that's just me though. Some people have a different experience, but that's personally just how I feel about running outside. I think it's just a much better way to run, honestly. Whether you want to run on a track or on a course that you set or anything on a few blocks and hit a corner, I don't know. But as long as you're running outside, that's just personally what I would prefer. That's just me. Next up, I want to say that, just some benefits that, running helps in general. These are some pretty obvious things, but I do feel like they need to be reiterated as well. So first things first, it does help increase your endurance, because, and I can say that for a fact, as someone who ran all these different sports, it was, running does help a lot, especially the more you do it. The more you run, the better your endurance gets. The longer you run, especially, the longer you run as well. And what you are going to do, especially if you do this, you're going to run longer. The longer and longer you do this, because all you're doing is upping whatever you're doing. You're trying to upstage yourself the further and further you go. So, your endurance will increase. Know that. And when you do cardio, not only does your endurance increase, just for running, your endurance increases for other things as well. Like maybe if you play another sport that requires something else, or maybe if you do other things, because you got to remember your heart is a muscle. So, when you up your endurance, I'm telling you, it pretty much helps for pretty much every other thing as well, in some kind of way. You know what I mean? So, I would definitely add in cardio, even if it was just for the endurance aspect. Like, you don't even have to be some kind of athlete. Just for the endurance aspect alone, it's pretty beneficial. So, I would, if you haven't already, I would look into that for that reason. Another thing it does is, I said this before, it helps your breathing. Helps you breathe in and out, because while you're running, what are you doing? Or, you find whatever breathing pattern works for you. So, because I typically have my own breathing pattern. It goes something like this. Like, I got my own pattern. See, that's my pattern. Don't steal my pattern. Typically whatever your breathing pattern is, it tends to be more natural, but, that's just mine. It works for me. I typically be crossing my fingers, all types of stuff while I'm running. But, helps your breathing. Helps burn calories, from whatever. If you ate a lot that day, go ahead and you want to burn off some calories, go ahead and get some cardio in. And it also helps blood flow as well, because, all you're doing is running, so your heart is pumping, and what is your heart pumping? It's pumping blood. Where's it pumping? Throughout your body. So it's literally helping your blood flow and stuff like that, so, help increasing it, getting it more swift and faster and whatnot. So, that's another reason, to, help if you didn't want to incorporate it already, there's another one. And again, it's up to you on how you want to implement this. Whether I personally suggest that you do it in increments and slowly increase. But, hey, you could be the kind of person that just wants to do 3 miles, a 5K right off the bat. I personally wouldn't do that, especially the me right now, but we're all built very differently, and if you do that, you're just better than me, apparently. So I would, if you can do it, do it. If you can't, just go ahead and start with the increments. Because that's personally what I would suggest. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this off. Hopefully you enjoyed the segment about cardio, and hopefully you decide to implement this into your workout, whatever that may be. But after this, immediately after these messages, I'm going to go over fitness advertisers, the dangers of them, and if they may be true or not, as well as how to look your best, especially at this point in your journey. So stick around for that. And if you haven't heard any of my previous segments, make sure you go back and listen to those as well. Those were very informational and had some pretty good stuff in there as well. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go, and I'll be right back, but right after these messages.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Here we are for our very final segment for this episode. And this is pretty much the moment we've all been waiting for. And essentially what I've been waiting for as well. But again, if you haven't heard any of my previous segments, make sure you go back and listen to those. Before this one, I was just talking about cardio and, how to implement it. How to implement it if you haven't already. Whoa. Or if you haven't already, or if you've been thinking about it, just how to implement it and stuff like that. So, if you haven't heard that, just go back and listen to that segment. All it takes is one little drag of the finger and you're good. Trust me. But before that, I was just telling everyone to not get too comfortable, and that you got to remember that at the end of the day, you're still, you're still working out, you're still dieting, and you're still trying to get better at these things at all times. So, getting comfortable isn't something that you really want to do. So, again, if you want to hear more on that more specifically, go back and listen to that. Again, just a drag of the finger, and it's all good. And first and foremost, I was going over, just pretty much a whole basis of weeks 11 through 20, and what that should look like, and just some objectives that you should keep in mind, stuff like that. So, if you haven't heard that either, make sure you go back and listen to that, because that was really important. And all these things were pretty much heavily informational things that you should know this far into your journey. So and again, make sure you stick around for my next episode that comes out after this, which is going to be the last episode in this journey series, and that's going to cover probably weeks 21 to 24. I'm still debating if I want it to be 25 or not, but I'd say 24, 25. Either way, I think you kind of get the point. I'll probably make it 21 to 25. I think that's good enough. So, make sure you stick around for my next episode where I talk about that as well. But without further ado, we finally made it here. And we're going to be going over false advertising in the fitness world, false fitness advertising, and, things that may or may not be true, as well as, how to look your best, this far into your journey and stuff like that. And I'll go into more detail on what that means, what that looks like, how that's going to be for you, how that could be for you, and, what it could look like for you, because this is really good for you. This could turn out very good. You could be a very handsome, very pretty woman / man / girl, whatever you identify as. But here we go. So, first things first, I want to talk about specifically fitness advertising. Now let that sit. Now, I know that everyone listening right now, I know for an absolute fact that you have been on YouTube, whatever, particularly YouTube. I guess I'll just stick with YouTube. But I know you've been on YouTube and you've heard these ads. Like you know, in it's always some guy with his shirt off. I don't know why. I know why his shirt off is. I know why his shirt is off. You know, he's trying to advertise his fitnessing program, but it's always some guy with his shirt off next to a. I don't know why it's always a Lamborghini. It's for some reason it's never any other kind of expensive car. Never a Porsche, a Bugatti, nothing. I don't know, a Rolls Royce, a G-Wagon. It's none of that. For some reason, it's always a Lamborghini, and it's always a guy standing there talking about, hey, you want to know how I got this rich and this fit and how I got all this money? Well, I've just been working out and so something, and I've been taking these supplements or something. I don't know. For some reason, it always follows the same formula, and for some reason, the ad is always about 5 minutes long. And then at the end, they just clickbait you into trying to get you to pay some kind of money or something like that. So the first thing I want to say is that most of those guys are lying to you. They're lying straight to your face. And one thing I do want to say, they're not lying completely, but they are lying, situationally. They're lying in certain moments. Because if they were lying completely, they wouldn't have a program to give. They would be outed in the next 5 minutes. There's no way you can just lie completely, especially on a platform like that, where a lot of people are going to be seeing this. So you can't just outright lie, completely. But yes, they are lying. But situationally, keep in mind, they're lying, but in the smart way. And when I say that they're lying, it's like, how can I put it? It's like take this piece of paper that I have right here. You guys hear that? That's a piece of paper. So say I have this piece of paper, and I'm trying to sell you this piece of paper and many other sheets of paper, and while I'm trying to sell this idea off to you that you should buy it, I'm telling you, well, yeah, you should buy this piece of paper because it has lines on it. You should buy this piece of paper because all kinds of erasers work on it, and you should buy this piece of paper because it's pretty durable. It doesn't just get crinkled and ripped up from anything, and stuff like that. But what's the first thing you're gonna tell me if that's what you hear? That's all paper. That is literally all paper. All sheets of paper can do that. Wide ruled, college ruled, construction, all kinds of paper can do those things. I'm telling you. Some may be stronger than others, but hey, all paper can do that. So, and that's kind of what they do with their advertising. It's like, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but it's like, come on, they're lying. Next up, I want to let you know, first things first, and I kind of want to say this off top. I probably should have said this first, but do not send them your money. You, especially before doing your research, don't send any of these people your money without doing complete research. Because again, some of these people are telling the truth. Some of them are spitting facts. I'm not going to lie. But again, a lot of them are lying in certain areas and with a lot of important things. So when you see these advertisements, although you may fit the description that they're describing, whatever that may be, out of shape and all these other things that they typically like to say. I don't know why Siri keeps responding to things that I don't be saying, but that is absolutely insane. But again, back to it. Make sure, I'm sorry. Siri really threw me off like Jesus. But yeah, don't buy into whatever they're saying. Don't send them your money. You don't need to do that, especially if you don't know what's going on for sure. So hold off on sending them your money and look at what they're really telling you. That's really important. Make sure you look at what they're really telling you. So with that said, if they offer, and this is more specifically, if they offer a specific product, it's more than likely that whatever that product does, you can already do whatever that product does or gain that desired result from doing other things. So when I say that, I mean, say on one of those infomercials, one of those guys, they're trying to sell you something. That same guy with the shirt off in the Lamborghini, he's trying to sell you a workout plan. He's saying all these things that sound really nice. And then he says, well, if you just get on my workout plan and take these supplements every third Wednesday, then you'll be okay. And they'll say something like, well, it's all natural with this and that and this and this and this. Well, my point is, if it's all natural, you can get all natural things on your own. You can go to this. I can go to the store and get an orange if I want to. Because truth be told, you really don't need those things. Because if they really were all natural, you could just get that on your own. You don't need someone's program or someone's supplements to do that. I mean, the point of getting a supplement is to get the things that is to pretty much get the things that you couldn't get before in abundance. You know, like say I'm taking a protein shake. You're getting extra protein that you can't really get on a regular basis like that. Because let's be honest, you know, you can't, if you're trying to get large amounts of protein, you can't just keep eating meat. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna affect you in some kind of way. You can't just keep eating abundance of nuts. You know what I mean? Like, protein shakes are a good way to get protein in that moment and in abundance as well. So, you know, if all you're trying to do is just eat natural things and get those vitamins and minerals, you can get those things on your own. That's all I'm saying. So I definitely don't trust them, you know, too much unless I look into them, and then they prove that that they're spitting some kind of facts. But again, a lot of them are lying. If I had to give out a percentage, I would personally say a good maybe anywhere from 50 to 70% of them are lying. So be very careful when you see those, and just do your research on them whenever you see that. You know, look up the products they offer. You know, look at the things that they're telling you, and look and see if those are things that you could really just do on your own at the end of the day. Because a lot of times, you know, they just state the obvious. You know, so as long as you really think about what they're saying, I personally think that you should be able to see through it. You know, so again, you know, keep your mind's eye open. Be very woke when it comes to that. Be very woke. But yeah, moving on from false fitness advertising, because you know, that tends to happen a lot. But I want to go ahead and get into you know, how to look your best, because and by that I mean, you know, I mean it literally. You know, how to look your best. You know, things you'll need to look, you know, really good at, because this is your new body. This is the new you. So, you know, you want to look your best and stuff like that. So, you know, I figured we can go ahead and talk about this, and, you know, and we can go over some ways that, you know, to make that a reality. So, and these are just a few things that I personally would say, because these are things that I do, especially when my finances are looking right. So, I personally would say, get some face cleaners. Whatever that may be, I don't care how expensive they are, but get you some face cleaners, some face cleansers. I don't care if it's I almost said I don't care if it's what do you call it? What do you call it? That one, acne proactive. I don't care if it's proactive or whatever, or something else. You know, get whatever face cleaners you feel like you need, or whatever, you know, whether it's a whole set or something like that. You know. I personally, you know, I think you should definitely get some face cleaners and stuff like that. You know, clean yourself up, you know, because we're trying to get the best you here. So, yeah, go ahead and invest in some face cleaners. You know, they typically don't tend to be that expensive, you know, because on the lower end, you could go to the dollar store and get some face cleaners for like anywhere from like $1 to $3, or you could go on the more expensive end and get a whole bundle set of face cleaners for like, I don't know, maybe $30 at the most. But then again, it's a whole set. They be having like face shampoos, face scrubs, exfoliators, and then like stuff where you just wipe, and it's like they have all kinds of things. So yeah, I would invest in some face cleaners for sure, especially if you have acne or something like that, or, you know, blackheads, whatever. I would invest in some face cleaners. Next up, I would invest in some face masks. And if you don't know what face masks are, they're basically, you ever watch a Disney movie and then the girl walks out of the bathroom and she has all that cream on her face? Yeah, that's pretty much what a face mask is. You know, you wipe it on your face, it hardens, and then you peel it off. That's basically what it is. I typically do those a lot just because they feel really good, and once you take them off, you feel so refreshed. You feel like a whole superhero. And then they also do clean your face as well. They help exfoliate it, you know. And again, if you have blackheads, especially if you have blackheads, you know, I would suggest using those. They're really good at what they do and stuff like that. And you can figure out however you want to incorporate those two things into the routine. I typically like to clean my face first, then exfoliate. But hey, it's up to you. Exfoliating, then cleaning is just as fine for me, because I personally don't care however way you do it. And I personally don't even know which way is the correct way to personally do it. So if you want to, however you may want to do that, go ahead and do that. Next up, I want to say to you could possibly get some hair products, if you're the kind of person that's into their hair and stuff like that, because I'm growing out my hair right now, I use a lot of hair products, especially when my hair isn't tied up like it is right now. So, I typically put a lot of products in my hair and, get it the way I want it to be and stuff like that. So if you're that kind of person who has a hair goal as well, go ahead and get, invest in those hair products and get those as well, because believe me when I say it doesn't start until you invest in it. It may seem like the other way around, but once you invest in it is when it truly starts. So go ahead and then get those hair products if that's something that you're into as well. That's something that I'm not going to speak on too long, just because that's something that I'm personally into. But you may be a person who has a low cut. This may not apply to you at all. You may be in the stage you got to grow out your hair before you got to worry about these things. Which is, I'm growing out my hair right now too, because it's long, but not long enough. You know what I mean? But yeah. With that said, I would also, and the last thing I want to say is get some good soap. Dr. Squatch is really good for men. That soap is actually fire. I would highly recommend that. This isn't even a plug, but if you're a woman, what do you call it? Bed Bath Body Works, they got some crazy stuff over there. Some absolutely crazy stuff. I'm telling you. I'll use some of that stuff. I'm just saying right now. They got some citrus melon. I was like, what the heck? I was like, what is this? I was like, this is amazing. But for sure, invest in that however you want to. But yeah, those are some things that I think that it'd be pretty cool if you had all those things for sure. Especially if your finances allow it. But yeah, those are some things that you can use. Ow, I just hurt my hand. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I appreciate you guys for listening. I don't want to hold you up for too long, but if you haven't listened to my other segments, make sure you go back and listen to those. But if you have, that's pretty much it for today. So thank you guys for listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would also like to ask you that if you could please remember to subscribe to the show and also write a nice review, because that pretty much that really helps us at the end of the day. And also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would be really nice. My Twitter is GSMC_fitness. And there's also other podcast users as well, different topics and stuff like that. So different things that you may be into. We got entertainment, weird news, beauty and tips and stuff like that, and and health and stuff like that. Sports, we got all different kinds of podcasts. So make sure you check us all out. Check us all out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you have, or and on social media as well, like Twitter mainly. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this off. I appreciate you guys for listening, and just remember, I will catch you later.
You've been listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, and any app where you listen to podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, we cover it all. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook and listen to these podcasts on YouTube. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.